Welcome back to Creating Cooperative Kids. I'm your host, Bill Corbett. We tell others how to treat us simply through our communication, our body language, our actions, and the words we use. And so do our kids, but they don't understand that yet. Now, my next guest has some tips for adults on helping kids gain more control over their lives. Jeff Londraville is a professional speaker who has worked with Extreme Makeover TV show and their anti-bullying campaign and even starred in an episode. He is the author of the book, The Filter, an award-winning self-help book for teenagers and adults alike. Jeff has a bachelor's degree in sociology and psychology and also holds a master's degree in education with a concentration in counseling psychology from Cambridge College in Boston. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Great to be here. Thank you.
It's a loaded statement, but it's so important, and many of us have figured out that things that we do, how we talk, how we act, how we dress, actually tell people how to treat us, but our kids don't understand that.
Right.
And it's so important, I think, for them to get that. Now, parents, I think what parents tend to do, and teachers we try to correct their dress, their attire, their behavior. Don't do that. But I don't think they really tell them why.
Right.
And that's where I think kids get stuck, right?
You nailed it. It's the whys. And that's what kids really want to get into. That's the real learning lesson, why. You say this, you should, but what is the why is that makes the difference. Show me why, and then maybe I will. And that's the huge difference. I remember one time when I was teaching in classroom, I've been in education for over 20 years now. When I was in the classroom, I said to all the students, I says, you know what's interesting? We always get into people being treated fairly, whether it's in life, whether it's in the classroom and everywhere. I said, if someone is very rude to you, disrespectful to you, calls you names, really mean to you, and another person is very, very nice to you, always kind to you, I said, should you treat both of them the same? And they said, well, of course not. I said, but that's how life rolls. And you have control over that. If you treat people a certain way, you're going to get this result. If people treat you this way, they're going to get that result. And yet, how it actually works, we have more control than we think we do. And getting that through to kids is really important because they think they have no control, especially teenagers. They think, well, everyone tells me what to do. I wish I had control over something, so I'm going to do something negative, something bad, because I know I can do that. And that's where negativity and the misunderstanding of why are they doing a certain thing really comes into play.
Now, you wrote the book, The Filter. Was it targeted for adults, or for parents, for teachers, for teenagers?
Yeah, great point. I targeted for teenagers because what happened to me was in my early 20s, I was thinking, what's it going to be? What's adulthood going to be? These things happened to me in my life. A lot of bad things happened in my first 18 years of life growing up. Okay, am I going to let that dictate my future in my adulthood? So that's where the thought came from, and me working through my own issues that I had to work through in my early 20s. So I wouldn't repeat them, so I would break the cycle when it came to my children and my relationships in life and my career. And it's interesting, we teach people how to treat us, but where does those thoughts come from that teach people how to treat us? If you really think about it. And they come from what we've been doing for 20 years or however old somebody is. And the thoughts we have either are good or bad. And we need to filter out the negative so we don't get negative results in our life. People always wonder why things are happening to me. What have you done? Let's take a look at what you think, how you think you should be treated. And that's a big part of it. And so what happens throughout your life really needs to be looked at. And Bill, I feel so passionate about this because I think this has to do with everybody. Man, woman, child, anybody in the world, anybody. The filter is the whole point, because if you don't take a look to your first 18, 20 years of life, how are you going to know what your next 20 years of life are going to be? Because the past will dictate the future, especially if you don't work on the past.
You know, and it's interesting because it seems like how we could change lives if teens in school had to read books like yours rather than Animal Farm.
Definitely.
Because my teenager came home with, classic books. And, I understand why, because they're learning different things about literature and everything, but maybe it's time we update some of these books that the teenagers are reading, because they need to get a message, because it's not the same world that you and I grew up in.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, the emotional intelligence is more vital now than ever. I mean, think about it. We think about all these different things. Bullying is such a hot topic, and I understand why it is. It's a huge issue. But where does bullying come from? The whys of even bullying are important. Why would people act a certain way towards somebody? And then, what can you do about it as the receiver of bullying or as the giver of bullying? bullying. We need to really dig into the root of any issues. That just happens to be a hot topic the last few years. But any issues at any age come from your thoughts, come from your feelings, how you should be treated and how you treat others. Where does that come from? From your past and what you think is right. There's a lot of people going through this world right now thinking, I deserve this, whether it's good or bad. Now, why do you deserve that? Why would you think that way? Well, when I was young, my father used to say this to me. My mother used to say this to me. My uncle made me feel this way. That's the stuff that needs to be filtered out, or it'll continue a cycle and you'll pass it on to your children, which of course was a negative cycle. So that's why I feel very passionate about the filter.
And that's important because the filter and what you wrote about is all about undoing the programming that's running
That's right.
Our thoughts and everything. Now, getting through to teenagers or even tweens, let's say older children,
Sure.
is really tough because even if we were able to educate parents on how to get through their kids, we have one factor in play that makes it really difficult is kids around adolescence develop an allergy to their parents. And,
That's right.
And they're dumb, they're boring, they're
Right.
annoying, they don't want to be seen with them.
Right.
So the problem is, even if a parent, a father or mother is knowledgeable on this and reads
Right.
your book and go, listen, John, I want to talk to you. They go, roll their
Yeah.
eyes and go, whatever.
Yeah.
But if that education came from somebody different,
That's right.
who's not the parent, and the whole thing is, when I say kids develop an allergy to their parents, as they go through adolescence, they start shedding their baby image
Yeah.
in order to progress to the next level. But unfortunately, the parents are connected to that baby image.
Right.
So they're rejecting the parents as well.
Yeah.
That's why, I mean, my kids, every once in a while, I would drop them off at school. My son would say, can you drop me off at the corner, Dad?
That's right.
And I'd go,
My daughter says, can you turn down the music? She's worried about the music arriving. I'm like, okay.
yeah. And I'd say, I finally asked my son one day, and he says, what's the problem? Why should I drop you off at the corner?
Right.
He goes, because I don't want my friends to know I have a dad. You know, it's,
Right.
it's wild, but
Yeah,
that's what they
basic stuff.
believe. That's what
Yeah.
they believe. So it's almost like as if somebody else
Right.
could give them the message out of like
yeah,
the filter.
our kids are so worried about judgment because judgment dictates how people will treat them. That's how they feel it will go, whether they have a dad or whether the music and all this stuff. People are going to judge me. How are they going to judge me? What will they think? What can I control? But the way about that is, how do you open the door to your children's lives? It's about connection. Sometimes connection, you raise a good point. The worst probably thing a parent could do is, hey, listen, sit down, I need to talk to you. They will shut down.
Shut
Yep,
down,
exactly.
yeah.
And so that's not going to go well. What you need to do is in basic conversation. Oh, you like this song? Who sings it? Oh, what's going on with this? Oh, you like this band? Did you catch the Patriots game the other day? How about Tom Brady? You know, that kind of stuff. Oh, yeah. Whatever their interests are, you want to dive into their interests. Then, when it's right, you don't want to do it right away, you can segue into, how was your day? How are you feeling about this? How are you feeling about that? Well, what can you do about that? It's interesting to ask questions to your children, much like in this episode we've talked about. When you ask questions, you get the answers from them. You don't always have to give the answers. They kind of work it out, but you're dragging it out of them. But you can't go in with, let's sit down. Boom, it is closed. You are done. You got to find those opening doors, and you open doors into kids' lives. And whether this is in school, whether it's teachers, administrators, parents, you make a connection. Kids want to connect. They want to feel loved. They want to feel heard. They want to feel listened to. But you have to start from the basics of just a regular day. Is it sunny out? How do you feel this morning? Just the basics.
Yeah, that's so important. And, you know, I actually figured out in the late, 6, 7, 8, 9 time period, age limit, age bracket, what I discovered is I could talk to my wife when the kids were in earshot about these lessons, and they would get it because they think I'm talking to her, but they'd be listening. But it only lasts for a while because each of my kids, they got to the point where they figured out and they go, all right, you can stop now because I know you're telling this to me.
Yeah, it only works for so long. They'll figure out your secrets, definitely. But you find those openings, you find those reasons. And this goes through teenage years, 20s, 30s, 40s. You mentioned your parents throughout the segment. I mean, we're constantly teaching people how to treat us by how we're actually interrupting the world, where we're doing to the world, how we're saying things to the world. So communication is key. A lot of things that we say to kids is, what do you want and how do you think you can get it? Because communication is key, but people get so frustrated. Why? Because they're not being heard, because they're not communicating properly. So we really should teach that more in schools, along with emotional intelligence, is how should you say this to get this result? Because we say things in the wrong way, then we're frustrated, it didn't work out. And we don't look at ourselves. We blame. We're the victim now because things didn't go well. Well, what did you say? What can you control? Maybe you can't control everything, and people will be unfair to you at times. But maybe there's a lot of things you can control that you didn't think of.
We only got a minute left, but you're in the school systems. You've been in the school systems. How well do you think teachers in the school systems are doing this kind of thing to help our kids?
Well, it's such a tough situation right now because politicians are all about numbers, and more people are about numbers, but politicians especially. So what are the grades like? What are the numbers is what we concentrate too much on. To arrive at the numbers, to arrive at the good state test scores, we need to find out where this individual, this child is. So you have to find out, everything comes next. How they're feeling is how they'll do better on a math test. And we don't look at it the right way. We're kind of going about it backwards. So teachers can definitely connect with a kid. Standing in your doorway, greet them as they come in, even just greeting them and say, hey, how you doing? It's maybe the first time someone showed interest in them in that day. So it can be huge.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for coming out. Your book is really important. It's got a great message, and I really hope that you're able to take that even further and get that message out to more parents and more teachers.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that.
Thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you.
On today's show, we picked up some tips on developing strong communication skills with kids, teens, and even seniors. From interpreting children's drawings to spending time with aging parents to reaching out to kids and teens to help fight hopelessness and bullying. How well we communicate can build strong relationships in so many ways. I hope you'll tune in to future episodes as I offer more tools to help you rebuild your parenting toolbox as an awesome parent or teacher. Now, if you're watching this on DVD or online and you'd like to get it on your local public access channel, contact my office to find out how. Making the world a better place to live begins at home is engaged, encouraged, and masterful parents. I'm Bill Corbett. I'll see you the next time on Creating Cooperative Kids.
Don't just